Hello everyone. In this video, we are going to discuss the parts of the respiratory system. We know that respiratory system provides for exchange of oxygen and carbon dioxide to and from the blood. The respiratory organs, mainly the lungs and its branching system called the bronchial tubes, links the sites of gaseous exchange with the external environment. Functionally, the respiratory system has two components. The conducting portion. The conducting portion consists of the nasal cavities, pharynx, larynx, trachea, bronchi, bronchioles and terminal bronchioles. Likewise, the respiratory portion, this is the main part where the gaseous exchange is occurring, and this respiratory portion consists of the respiratory bronchioles, alveolar ducts and the alveoli. Alveoli are small air-filled sac-like structures. The lung structure is made up of alveoli to the maximum. Coming to the function of the conducting portion. So this conducting portion cleans and humidifies the air which is inspired in, and this provides conduits for air movement to and from the alveoli. To ensure an uninterrupted supply of air, a combination of cartilages, collagen and elastic fibers, some smooth muscles are present in this pathway. And these structures provide the conducting portion with a kind of tough, rigid structural support and also the necessary flexibility and extensibility. So now coming to the structures one by one. The nasal cavities. So we have two nasal cavities, right and left nasal cavities. The external dilated portion of the nasal cavity is called as the vestibule, and the internal part is called as the nasal cavity. A part of vestibule is covered by the skin, and this part is lined by keratinized epithelium. And the transition of epithelium within the vestibule, the keratinized epithelium is transferred to the respiratory epithelium. The respiratory epithelium is nothing but ciliated pseudostratified columnar epithelium. So this vestibule contains some sweat glands, sebaceous glands and coarse moist hairs which is called vibrissae. This helps in filtering out the solid particles from the inspired air. So the nasal mucous membrane or the epithelium of the nasal cavity, except the upper portion or the superior concave, the epithelium of middle and inferior concave is the respiratory epithelium, which is nothing but ciliated pseudostratified columnar epithelium. Whereas the superior portion of the nasal cavity is lined by olfactory epithelium. Coming to the components of the respiratory epithelium. So this respiratory epithelium has 5 major cell types, namely mainly the epithelium, ciliated columnar epithelium. These are the most abundant cells, and it has 250 to 300 cilia on the apical surface or the superior surface. Among the columnar cells, we have numerous, predominantly in some areas, with the cells with basal nuclei, and the apex of these cells are filled with granules of mucin, which is called as the glycoprotein, and these cells are called goblet cells. Presence of goblet cells is a specific feature of respiratory epithelium. And the third cell type is the brush cells, which are much less when compared to the other two types, and these act as chemosensory receptors. And the fourth type is small granule cells. This is actually very difficult to distinguish in routine preparations. And the fifth type of cell is, and see this granule cells act as diffuse neuroendocrine system, which is similar type of cells are present in the GIT. Basal cells, the last one is the basal cells. These are mitotically very active stem cells and the progenitor cells, which helps in complete continuous replacement of the other types of epithelial cells. So from the nasal cavity, the air is entering into the posterior part of the nasal cavity, which is called as nasopharynx. Before that, we should know about the paranasal sinuses. What is this paranasal sinus? Paranasal sinuses are bilateral cavities which is present in the frontal bone, maxilla, ethmoid and sphenoid bones of the skull. And these are lined with a thinner respiratory epithelium, and occasionally very few goblet cells are present in this paranasal sinuses. The paranasal sinuses communicate with the nasal cavities through small openings, and these are opening into the meatus, which is present in the lateral wall of the nose. Nasopharynx. Nasopharynx, it is the first part of the pharynx, and inferiorly this nasopharynx is continuing as the oropharynx, which is the posterior part of the oral cavity, and this pharynx is leading into the larynx and the esophagus still inferiorly. This oropharynx is lined by stratified squamous epithelium. The nasopharynx is lined by respiratory epithelium, and the medial wall is having pharyngeal tonsils and the openings of the auditory tubes. From the pharynx, the air is entering into the, we know that the oropharynx is the common passage of air and also the food. The larynx, now from there the air is entering into the larynx, which is present anteriorly, and the food is entering into the esophagus, which is present posterior to the larynx. The larynx is a short passage of air which is present between the pharynx, that is the oropharynx above, and the trachea below. This is also very rigid because of the presence of some hyaline cartilages, which is present in the thyroid cartilage, cricoid cartilage and the arytenoid cartilage. In addition, this larynx is very flexible because of the presence of smaller elastic cartilages, and these elastic cartilages are epiglottis, cuneiform, corniculate and a part of arytenoid. and all these cartilages are articulated or connected by means of ligaments. And in addition to maintaining the pathway open or the patent, the movement of these cartilages, which is assisted by some skeletal muscle, participate in sound production, which is called phonation. So epiglottis, this is an important elastic cartilage, and it is a flattened structure which is projecting from the superior border of the larynx. The main function of this epiglottis is it serves to prevent the swallowed food or fluid from entering the larynx. So it allows the food only into the esophagus. Now the air is passed through the larynx. From the larynx, the air will enter into the trachea. Trachea, this is actually windpipe, which is about 10 to 12 centimeter long in adults, and it is lined with typical respiratory epithelium. So the lamina propria of this part of epithelium has numerous seromucous glands. This makes the passage watery mucus, and it is having about 12 C-shaped hyaline cartilages, and this hyaline cartilages are present between the submucosa and the adventitia. This helps in patent lumen of the trachea. So we told that the hyaline cartilages are C-shaped. So the posterior part is open. So the open ends of the cartilaginous rings are present against the esophagus, and this part is bridged by a bundle of smooth muscle called trachealis and a sheet of fibroelastic tissue attached to the perichondrium. The trachealis muscle is very important because it relaxes during swallowing of food, and this helps in facilitating the passage of food by allowing the esophagus to extend into the lumen of the trachea with the elastic layer, preventing excessive distension of the lumen. That is also very important. Excessive distension is prevented by this elasticity. The muscle strongly contracts in cough reflex to narrow the tracheal lumen, and it provides for increased velocity of the expelled air and better loosening of material in the air passage. Now the trachea at the fourth thoracic vertebral level divides into two principal bronchus, or the bronchi plural, which enter each lung at the hilum along with the arteries and the veins and lymphatic vessels. After entering the lung, the principal bronchi course downwards and outwards, giving rise to 3 secondary bronchi in the right lung and 2 secondary bronchi in the left lung. And this supplies a pulmonary lobe. These lobar bronchi again divide into tertiary bronchi, which is otherwise called as segmental bronchi. This tertiary bronchi give rise to smaller and smaller bronchi, goes on dividing and dividing, and these terminal branches are called bronchioles, and each bronchiole enters a pulmonary lobule where it branches to form 5 to 7 terminal bronchioles. So principal bronchus, secondary bronchus, which is called lobar bronchus, then tertiary bronchus, which is called segmental bronchus, then tertiary bronchi divides into bronchioles. Bronchioles goes on dividing 5 to 7 terminal bronchioles. The terminal bronchioles, these are the final parts of the air conducting system. Bronchi, each principal bronchus branches repeatedly, with each branch becoming progressively smaller. Poga poga chinnadaite pogum, the diameter decreases. The mucosa of the larger bronchi is structurally similar to the mucosa which is present in the trachea, except the organization of the cartilage and the smooth muscle. In the primary bronchi, most cartilage rings completely encircle the lumen, but as the bronchial diameter decreases, the cartilage rings are gradually replaced with smaller isolated plates of hyaline cartilage. Small mucus and serous glands are abundant in this place, with the ducts of these glands opening into the bronchial lumen. Numerous lymphocytes are present in the lamina propria of the bronchioles. The bronchioles are lined by cuboidal epithelium. See, the length of the epithelium decreases. First it is pseudostratified columnar. When the bronchi goes on dividing, it becomes simpler. So it becomes simple columnar. When the bronchi has become bronchiole, the bronchioles are lined by cuboidal epithelium. Still the height of the epithelium reduces. So the cuboidal epithelium is present in the terminal bronchioles, and it is having a special type of cell called club cells. Previously, these club cells are called Clara cells. These are some kind of non-ciliated dome-shaped cells, and the apex of this Clara cells or the club cells are having secretory granules. These act as exocrine glands. So these Clara cells are having many important functions. One of the main function is secretion of surfactant, which is a lipoprotein, and mucin, which is present in the fluid layer of the epithelial surface. The next function is detoxification of inhaled xenobiotics. And the next one is secretion of antimicrobial peptides and cytokines. So these surfactant material helps in patency, maintaining the patency of the alveoli. Thus, the surfactant produced by type 2 pneumocytes help in preventing the collapse of the alveoli. To sum up, parts of the respiratory system. The air enters through the external nares and it enters the nasal cavity where it is moistened. And the pharynx, this is the tube that delivers the air from the mouth and the nasal cavity into the trachea, which is a windpipe. And the trachea is the passage connecting the throat with the lungs. Bronchial tubes, these are the tubes at the bottom of the trachea which connect into the lungs. And lungs are pair of organs that remove oxygen from the air and pass it into the blood and removes the carbon dioxide from the blood, vice versa. Thank you.